When people talk about going camping, the most common thing we usually hear is, "It's so fun," or "I hate bugs," "The sound of nature is so relaxing," maybe something along the lines of, "I just need a break from the city." Occasionally, people will mention that bears can rummage through tents looking for food, so bear spray is probably a good idea. But one thing few people talk about, or at least seem to talk about, is the 40-foot, frail, rusty-looking skeleton monster whose goal is simply to kill. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you to the one and only Siren Head. Originally created by Trevor Henderson, it seems Siren Head has quickly become an internet fan favorite, at least among those itching for a good scare. Now, people likely have comfort in knowing Siren Head is simply a tale. Internet folklore, if you will. But as we've seen, sometimes things get a little too real for us to handle, and let's just say if Siren Head went from fiction to reality, well, it'd be a scary time for us all, you know. Today in LBQ, we're asking, what if Siren Head was real in 2021? It's been a wild few years as is, so imagine throwing this scrawny yet terrifying thing into the mix. Should be fun. Smash that like button and let's go. Alright, so first things first, let's do some background on Siren Head. I don't know Trevor Henderson personally, but for him to even come up with this type of character makes me question what he thinks about daily. All kidding aside, he's a creative genius who is Canadian, shout out Canada, clearly has a love for horror and monsters, which is why he created Siren Head. Did he think it would turn into this mega monster which would take over the internet for years to come? Probably not. But as of this recording, there are a few Siren Head games, short films, and I'm sure other forms of media involving this thing. So what exactly is Siren Head? Well, according to its official Wiki Villains page, I quote, "Siren Head is a 40-foot tall humanoid creature with a heavily emaciated near skeletal frame covered in dry, mummified flesh, the color of rusty metal." So whatever that looks like to you. And if you don't have the type of imagination that could think of what that would look like, well, thankfully, there are numerous photos, videos, and as previously mentioned, even games, where you can see exactly what this thing looks like, how it moves, and of course, why it's potentially one of the internet's most terrifying creatures to date. I don't know about you guys, but I'm not a fan of like loud sirens, like police and firefighters, it's too much. Now, aside from standing 40 feet in length, appearing to be mummified, rusty skeleton, Siren Head's limbs are also terrifyingly disproportionate. Its arms are as long as its legs, and its hands, to no surprise, are quite large and bony. Rather than having a head or face, really, as I'm sure the name indicates, Siren Head's head, I guess, is, well, that of two sirens. However, it seems a long metal rod is in the place of a spine, extended all the way up to where its head would be, and that's where the two sirens kind of just are attached. It appears wiring is also wrapped around the pole attached to the sirens and middle of this monster's body. However, the only metal part of Siren Head would be, well, its head, the sirens. A little confusing. The two sirens that emit sounds such as an air raid sirens, types of music, animals, or even human voices in an effort to lure victims are actually more than just pieces of metal, well, depending where you look. As some sources depict Siren's Head sirens as having what appear to be a lipless mouth with some teeth and a long retractable tongue coming out of each speaker or siren. They're also capable of turning around fully, the way an owl can completely twist its head around, which just adds to how gross and horrifying this thing would really be. But that's not all. Siren Head has also been referred to as Lamp Head, where to no surprise it appears to be a lamp instead of a siren. This has led some to conclude that Siren Head not only has capabilities to create different sounds in an effort to trick or lure its victims, but also has the ability to camouflage based on where it's located, maybe even change what its head looks like in an effort to blend in before ultimately pouncing on its prey. Taking a Twitter, Henderson actually posted a little infographic photo with Siren Head explaining some facts and what it's capable of doing. Some of these skills include it being, I quote, "a highly skilled predator using deception and subterfuge to confuse and disorient prey. It is unclear if or how it gains nourishment from the things it kills. Aside from that, it seems noise is constantly playing out of Siren's Head speakers, whether that is odd music, conversations between people, animals, or simply a white noise, which plays as Siren Head sleeps." Yeah, apparently this thing needs to sleep, but it ensures to always keep the sirens working, even while catching those Z's. Talk about a hard worker. And going back to the camouflage, again, like a panther, this monster is able to remain stealthed, at points completely motionless for hours, even days at a time, while waiting for the perfect opportunity to attack. In regard to where this thing would like to hang out, well, in heavily forested areas and wooded areas. Also seen in rural towns, so if you live in the big city like me, you're good. I mean, as we know, crime rates in big cities are usually way higher than rural, like towns in small areas, but it's usually like, you know, the gun stuff, the violence, attacks, some illegal substances, you know, like that kind of stuff. Which, compared to Siren Head, I mean, I'd much rather have someone pull like a knife or a gun than see a 40-foot mummified skeleton looking thing with its head turned around like an owl coming at me. I mean, I'd rather neither of those things, but, you know, if I had the choice, big city. Alright, so what happens if this thing is real? Well, unfortunately, it seems it'd be one of those things that we kind of just have to learn to live with. As Trevor Henderson explained on Twitter, aside from preying on humans and having incredible camouflage skills, this thing doesn't have eyes but can still see. Which, what are we dealing with here? It has organic teeth but doesn't necessarily eat. It is never seen in highly populated areas, although it spends most of its time motionless. It is capable of moving at incredibly fast speeds. So again, what is this thing? No one knows, and that's why I think we need to learn to live with it. Unfortunately, assuming this is an alien of sorts, maybe, or an entity we couldn't treat the way we would treat a human being or an animal, it seems stopping this thing per se wouldn't be all that possible. In theory, yeah, maybe you could light this thing on fire. However, given that it moves at speeds which we likely wouldn't be able to see it, the fact that we would have a tough time noticing it in the first place due to the camouflage, as well as the fact that, you know, it's 40 feet tall, it seems just throwing some gasoline and a match on this thing would be a very tough task to handle. Of course, if someone could suggest a crazy idea, such as lighting an entire forest on fire in hopes of maybe burning this thing down, on paper it seems like a good idea, but it really isn't. It's not a good idea. Because as we know, forest fires are just bad news all around. Between the air pollution, the fact that trees are good for the environment, and of course the animals who would be affected. I mean, we're not burning down a forest just because an alien or an entity of sorts we're dealing with is occasionally killing people. And I know that's blunt, and I'm sorry, but I mean, yeah, some people have to die. It happens. It's life. Better than the entire town having to deal with burning trees for days or potentially even weeks at a time. Of course, this isn't how we're just gonna end things off because, I mean, there's gotta be more to this whole thing, right? We can't just be like, people die and we deal with it. Sorta, there's kind of more. I mean, maybe at some point we'd be able to figure out how this thing actually works, what makes it tick, why it decides to go after the people that it goes after, if it's based on opportunity or it's specific people that it's trying to attack. Going back to Henderson's Twitter account, it appears there have been a few instances where victims have been able to tell the tale of Siren Head. Between 1978 and 1992, although there are expected to be more, there have been 4 reports, including both men and women of all ages, being attacked or targeted by Siren Head. In 1978, a 9-year-old Catherine Hubbins would go missing from her home after hearing, I quote, strange noises coming from the woods across their backyard. Catherine's sister Abby explained that Catherine heard their mother calling from the trees, I quote, but wrong, all echoey. Another instance in 1984 included 4 teenage boys who went camping, only for them to all be reported missing. Upon the report being filed, one of them, a Simon Foster, would return home explaining something huge attacked them in the woods. The other friends were never recovered. In 1990, a park ranger found a man clinging to a tree up about maybe 20 feet in the air. Upon not replying to the ranger's verbal demands, a rescue team would then confirm that the man, who to this date has not been identified, had been deceased. Upon finding the man, it was determined that his eyes and eardrums had been ruptured. In 1992, a woman named Samantha Harp, referred to as a drifter, explained she saw what appeared to be a telephone pole walking among trees in the back roads near New Hope, Pennsylvania. She described it, I quote, like one of the trees got up and started walking. So given that people could see this thing and somehow live to tell the tale, leads me to believe a few things. It doesn't focus on killing its prey and won't stop until it completes the mission. Rather, it appears to just take what it can get to feed its need of just killing at random. Unfortunately for us, until we were to find a way to officially stop it, odds are people would be on heightened alert, told to stay in groups, and to definitely not go camping. It's also possible rural towns would see their populations decrease even more, with everyone hoping to move to a bigger, more populated city. That being said, the opposite could also happen, where rural towns would encourage their populations to grow significantly, offering incentives for people from the city to move into their neighborhoods. Again, Siren Head usually doesn't hang around highly populated areas, thus any rural town who increased their population tenfold likely wouldn't have to worry as much. But truthfully guys, in regards to stopping this thing, well, it seems we just have to adapt and hopefully over time figure out a way to stop it. Much like our pandemic, as you can clearly see, when unexpected things happen, life goes on, and we just gotta make do. If Siren Head were real, the same could be said, with the only major difference being that it wouldn't infect the entire world, but more so low populated rural towns who would need to be hyper aware at all times, fearing an attack from Siren Head. Given that we truly don't know what, if any, weaknesses this thing may have, we'd literally just have to trial and error this thing until we find a way to stop it. If fire doesn't work, maybe we could use cement to stop it from moving. But again, we'd have to actually find it camouflaged wherever it may be, and then attack it without it being able to move in time. It moves very fast. We just have to learn to live with it. Bottom line, I don't think we get around this. Sorry guys. As always guys, let me know your thoughts on how you think we would deal with Siren Head if you were real. For now, let's reply to some comments from the video. Top 10 UFO sightings we know are real. Andrea Cooper Premo said, Jared, never be sorry about being excited by aliens, UFOs, or science, baby. Well, you know what? I love myself some science. I love myself some aliens, some UFOs, and you know, I think I might have to, you know, give my thoughts on live videos. What am I saying? Reactions, baby, they're coming soon. Ovo, or AUVO, not sure how to say your name, I'm really sorry, said, can you guys do what happened to the missing Malaysian flight MH370 revisited? That'd be a very interesting video. I don't know if there's been an update, but again, that's something that we should get to the bottom of, so maybe. Danny Jones said, do one on Avi Loeb's new Galileo project to identify the UAP phenomenon. Better yet, interview him. I would love to interview him. I've done videos mentioning him. I think he's the Israeli scientist, astronomer from Harvard maybe. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's Avi Loeb I think he's an Israeli astronomer from Harvard who has wild claims and people write him off and pretty much just say he's crazy. I'm not saying that. I'm saying you never know, because all I'm saying is when things change, everyone's gonna be like, oh, he was right all along. I don't know what's gonna happen. I'm just saying I'm open to everything. That's all I'm saying. All right, guys, I've been your boy Pepper, aka Jared. Make sure you guys smash that like button. All together, let's just yell about aliens, because aliens are exciting. Aliens, baby, let's go. Nothing to do with this video, but I like aliens, and we'll see you guys soon. Siren Head is a 40-foot tall humanoid creature with a heavily I looked up how to say that word too. I don't know how to say it. I'm gonna look it up real quick, sorry. Emaciated, it's emaciated for sure. Emaciated. Yeah, I knew it. See, I gotta trust myself more. I was like, I don't know how to say that. I did know how to say it. I just didn't trust myself. Okay. You don't give a I just hit my camera too, great. I'm doing fantastic today, as you can see.